there's, you know, again, this is sort of a larger task, so I don't, you know, full caveat here, the build that you're going to play, it's not like it's final and it's, you know, shipping tomorrow or something. This is like, I hear a lot of times that you guys want to know like what we're working on behind the scenes, and this is a glimpse of what we're working on behind the scenes, so, you know, caveat emptor, like this is not the final. But there's a lot of emphasis on addressing build times, movement speeds, and then a lot of the combat interactions. So it's not 100% of them. I think the EU is probably the most polished of the three factions, you know, in that build. But you know, so there's kind of the attack delays and attack ranges. So there's some very interesting interactions between like the light recon vehicle or the APC versus infantry units, and you know, there's a little bit more burden on kiting effectively with the vehicles to kind of maximize their effectiveness against the infantry, as opposed to just sort of attack, move into each other, and you know, hey, I hope I win, right? And because of that, it starts to make some of the countering a little bit more clear on what's going on. Like, oh, I get it, because of, you know, the range differentiation, and because I can kite, like this thing can handle these units a little bit better than this other unit I have. And it kind of makes more sense when you can see the weapons they have to sort of understand how it's supposed to work. And that was kind of the goal in the first place, and there hasn't been as much work done to make that as clear as possible. And so, you know, of course, obviously everybody picks up on the fact that it has been very sloppy to this point. And so, again, one of the aspects of what you'll eventually get to see here is that hopefully that will start to feel a little bit tighter.
Yeah, and just to talk about it from a process perspective too, I think a lot of times we get feedback that we have to kind of reflect on and figure out how are we going to proceed with it, or we get it at a time when we're trying to wrap up other features that take a lot of attention from us to wrap up. So even though sometimes it takes us a while to get around to addressing things, it doesn't mean we're not going to address them. So we definitely you know, believe in this process of getting feedback and incorporating it into future builds. And so what you're going to see today in this build that Brian's been referencing, it's a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, and you will see some things that are kind of broken about it because it's very much work in progress, but it'll at least give you a sense for this particular set of issues, the steps that we're starting to take to try to address. And we're not all the way there yet, but we definitely do intend to continue to work until we get there.
Yeah, as an example, you know, we're still having some issues with, and again, I don't want to get into details, but unit acceleration. So the more the unit has to accelerate to get up to speed, the more you may, as you're playing, see them kind of pop now and then to catch up. And so, like I said, there's going to be some stuff that looks a little rough, but you know, I'm not presenting this as a like it's releasing tomorrow, yay. It's more of a feel for, you know, how the difference in build speeds and unit speeds and kind of the combat interactions work on a higher level.
Next question. All right, with the red wristband in the back.
I was under the impression that the game interface is a prototype which will later be replaced by the actual interface. But now, as more and more features and improvements are applied to the game interface, I'm no longer sure. Will you do a complete redesign of the interface, or is it what you intend as the final game interface?
So I would say longer term, we're going to continue to evolve the interface that we've got. But we'd also like to offer some options. So, you know, ultimately, as this live service approach, we really have a chance to do things that we haven't been able to do in other games in terms of evolving and providing more user choice. I think some people like a minimalistic approach as what we've got, and yes, you know, but others would prefer things that are faction specific or things that are closer to some of the past CNCs. So, you know, we definitely heard that feedback too. I think there's some more thinking about the specifics of what are the choices that we'll offer, what are the other visual styles that we might flesh out. But it is fair to say that what we're working on will be one of the options, and what the others are in the future will tell.
So is it a major issue on your list because it's not listed here?
It's something that we'll get to later because it is functional and aesthetic. You know, I think a lot of these things that are core game mechanics are things that we're going to try to address first. That said,
I think the second issue there is the amount and noise of the issues for this kind of has, at least to this point, outweighed the noise about the UI. So it's not that we haven't heard it, and like there's other stuff that we've heard that's not on this list, so like let's not try and pretend that this is the all-inclusive 100% list of the only community feedback we've heard. We just tried to put like the biggest things we could on the slide for purposes of presentation. So
Yeah, to Brian's point, I think there are a number of things that do come up.
I think there's way more than this.
Yeah, I mean, just a laundry list. Unit readability is another example of it.
Yes.
It's not up there, it's very important to gameplay. Just because it's not on this list doesn't mean that we're not working on it. But to specifically answer your question, we are going to polish the interface that we've got some more, and I think already in the August build, you guys should notice some improvements. But thematically, that's the style that we're going to polish out first, and then we'll offer some more options. Other questions? Yes, sir.
I'd like to know about the recent change in terms of scouting. I mean, you have, so how is that allows you to scout the enemy base? You have, now it reveals the buildings that the enemy has built. You just don't know the hit points of these buildings, but it reveals the buildings. It's not just the old school style where you could build a bunch of units, send them out to many corners of the map and to figure out what's in the map. Now I have everything revealed. Why is this? Are you doing this kind of change? Why are you trying to suppress scouting from the game? Or at least it looks like that.
Again, there's a very long and rambly explanation to that I don't know that I necessarily want to get into before I've had alcohol. So the short form answer of that is there's a whole bunch of things that interact with each other. And one of the issues that we had is it was taking a long time to get units actually out to do any scouting. So we were trying a concept where as you build structures, those are revealed, in the shroud to the other player until you build a command center, and then none of your future structures after that point are actually revealed. So you have the choice of when to build that structure to kind of hide your hand and force them to send a unit over to see what's going on. But it helps prevent the situation where, oh, well, I didn't get a unit there in time. Oh, he has 3 barracks and he just rushed a whole bunch of rifle guys in my base. So crap, I'm dead, right? So that we had this weird situation with the timings, just given a lot of other systems. The need for that may go away as we start to tweak the unit build times and the unit speeds, and so we can always back off of that if that's the case. So I don't necessarily want you to consider that is forever how it shall work, or you know what I mean. There's a lot of sort of moving parts here, and we're trying to find ways to get them to all fit together. I don't know. Did that help answer the question at all?
I see a hand in the back.
Maybe a follow-up to that. I would just like to point out this created a major shitstorm in the German forum scene because people thought it was a bug, and then they came to know that it was a feature.
Sometimes the difference between those two things is really So as an example,
what I'm trying to say is,
so as an example, there's been some people that have written, very, very long lists of things that they like about generals and all these different, the same thing happened in StarCraft to StarCraft 2. There was all these things that people liked in StarCraft that weren't in StarCraft 2. As it turns out, the things they liked were bugs that they fixed moving to the new version and created this giant like, hey, how come I can't do X or Y? And like, well, that was a bug, we fixed it. They're like, no, we like that, put it back, right? So that's what I was saying, the line between bug and feature can be really thin sometimes.
That might be true, but still, I don't think people will like this at all. So, no.
Yeah, everything
I have to say about that.
It seems to be,
I
it seems to be too radical fix for scouting. It's something that should be fixed. It seems. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm not saying it's not the right solution, but it feels as a too radical solution to something that normally or historically would be changed by balance or something like that, by speed and stuff like that.
I'd say more. makes the game somewhat predictable. I mean, you can see what you can predict the kind of move that your enemy will do next, or where it is expanding, or something like that.
Yes, the caveat being, and of course I don't think this is widely understood, is that your ability to see that ends the minute he builds a command center. So if the first building you build is a command center, your opponent can't see anything until he sends a unit over. It works exactly the way previous that it had. So again, I'm not saying that this is a final solution by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't want to sort of argue against effectively an incorrect assumption that is, every time I build a building he can see it, because that's not actually entirely true. Like, there is a method available for you to hide your intentions. It just involves changing the order in which you build the structures.
Yep, and to jump in for a second, I see there's some more hands up, so we'll move on quickly, but you know, I think over the course of this game already, you've seen this a few times, and I hope that you'll continue to see it more in the future as well. We're going to try some things that are experiments, and we don't go into them knowing that they're going to work. We kind of try them, play them, see what kind of feedback we get from you guys. So, you know, it's totally legitimate if you guys hate this mechanic to let us know that. In some cases, we'll say, hey, there's still some more changes we want to make to it before we make a decision to keep it or to get rid of it. But we don't want to just discard ideas because it's not the way other games have done. So, you know, we really appreciate hearing the feedback here, and you know, as Brian's saying, I think this is something that may or may not persist, but it's at least an experiment that we're trying for now.
Yeah. Again, I think there may be some other ways to solve that issue. It's just, bear with us here. We're just trying something. Apparently it's not liked very much.
Let's see, how about you?
I want to bring this to the core, right? So how are you going to beat GTA 5?
Are we gonna what?
Beat GTA 5.
Well, I mean, I figure if I play it long enough, I'll eventually beat it. That's what you meant, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Well. So beat it how?
In terms of sales, because it's a free game, that's not free.
I just want to say you can't beat GTA 5.
Beat it how?
We plan
But it's not a competition, so.
I know, they will crush it. They're going to then crush it and they will crush
That's
There it
true.
is. That's
with the
good.
tanks.
All right, so interactive solution.
Yes, I have two questions. First one, you said that the new feature with scouting is only available until you build a command center, but on this slide you say that the starting with sub-lead depot is under construction. Does it mean that we in the future start with a command center, and how does it interact then with the new scouting?
Ah, you are very clever. So there's two possible ways this could go. One way, which is probably the one that everybody wants to hear, is, well, we just don't do it anymore. Wow, problem solved.
Yes.
Way number two is that the system can function as it does, except that ability is an upgrade purchased on the command center. So that's not. Yes, but you're very clever.
And the second question, can you go to the last slide, please? So it says that a new map will come early January. Does it mean that we will wait several months until a new map now? And will it fasten in the future?
Maybe there's an answer.
So I'll jump in on that one. It means that we have a particular idea for something that we're going to do at that time. There may be other content that comes online during these milestones, but these are just things that we've set and we know we're going to do right now. So in terms of cadence of new maps in the future, there's some work that we're doing right now that you guys have seen a little bit of the fruit of in terms of revising existing maps. There's also some work that we want to do to improve performance that has some rework that we do on the maps just to reduce the overall load on systems. So some of that's consuming up near-term bandwidth. I think soon we'll get into a more regular cadence of generating new content, but we don't have a specific target in mind for that yet.
Yeah, and additionally on that, the artists are working on new environments. So, there's some work that we kind of, also teased, though I guess no one's actually mentioned it yet, doing some more snow maps and whatnot. So like at the beginning of the campaign trailer, for example, there's some teasing of that. And that is, you know, some of the same resources that actually do the maps. So there's actually, you know, some more stuff on the way, but like Tim was saying, we had some specific ideas in mind, which is why that's listed where it is.
Yes, sir.
Two things. What are C changes? CE?
CE is consumer experience, so that's the group inside EA that takes all of the functional feedback, and so people who are having trouble with graphics cards or installation or network connection problems. And you know, it's really important to us that everybody have a good experience. I think right now, you know, some people in different parts of the world are experiencing lag because we've only got servers in one region. Some people have had black screens when they start the game, so it's all these sorts of things that we want to make sure we're continuing to address as we move on.
It also contains things like harassment reporting and other sort of consumer experience, stuff like that.
Oh, that's good. That's actually good. I was wondering about the other slide. Sorry.
Eric's earning his pay today.
Yeah, why use of squads? To be determined after squad mechanics implemented. So it's a new squad mechanic?
No, it's just there are some game mechanics related to squads that we haven't fully implemented yet. So, you know, currently the squad mechanic is almost more visual than it is functional, but there are some functional things that we can do with squads that we want to try out before we make any assessment of whether to keep them or change them. I don't know, Brian, if you want to provide.
I mean, that's pretty much, yeah.
It's cool.
All right, so before we lose ourselves in questions, I mean, all the gentlemen will be on the boat, so you can get, they can't run away, so you guys can really run.
I'm actually a good swimmer.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll get to the change. Obviously, this build has been mentioned quite a few times, the data build with balance changes, and it is ready. So,
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yes, so potentially we'll start bringing groups over so that they can start playing it. For the rest of the evening, obviously we have a boat cruise tonight with food and drinks. I would say we'll all meet just at 7 p.m. right outside of the south entrance, which is not the one that is here, but rather the one that is on the exact other side of the hall. Just outside the stairs, so it's the entrance of the lovely stairs downstairs. We'll just meet there at 7 p.m. and then we walk over to the boat. It's a fairly quick walk, kind of 5 minutes. Some of you probably are experts in that because they were on the boat previously. So with that said, let's start bringing them over. Is David in the room somewhere? So David also has some lovely gimmicks that he will hand out for you. Some of you at E3 saw that we handed out those paper wallets, which are branded by faction. And one of you guys will actually get each of the faction version, plus we made a USB drive for you that contains all the assets previously released in high res. So you guys can use it for your website, for your video material, for whatever you guys need it. Oh, you actually stored them here.
Coco, can you actually start grabbing kind of 12 people and